I'm James.
And I'm Andy.
And we host the Broadway Boys podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network.
Every Monday we talk New York Rangers, news from around the league, and all aspects of the hockey lifestyle.
It's all power, play go!
It's never been a better time to be a Rangers fan, so tune in and join us as we break down games, prospects, rumors, and more as we follow the Blue Shirts on their quest towards the Stanley Cup. Our takes are all our own,
and not always legally binding.
But you're not going to want to miss all the guests, rants, speculation, and the occasional overreaction.
He goes to the net! He scores! He scores! The Rangers win!
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Broadway Boys Pod and catch new episodes every Monday morning on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and more.
And this one will last a lifetime!
So what are you waiting for? Subscribe, follow, and listen to the Broadway Boys podcast today, and be sure to check out all the exciting content on the Hockey Podcast Network.
Oh, baby!
All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 72 of the Brothers of Discussion covering the Detroit Red Wings, formerly known as the Discussion 5, and now known. Michael, do you want to introduce us? Do you remember? We are now
We're the Red Wings Rant
podcast. Woo!
podcast. Yeah.
Puns be damned, SEO reigns supreme. Where tirades and impassioned pleas about your Detroit Red Wings have a home. The Red Wings Rant podcast. I was excited to get to work on the graphics and everything. We were gonna go live because we've been going live with the wrestling podcast, but
Yeah.
I don't have any banners ready. I don't have anything ready. So we're gonna, now that we changed the name, we're gonna hold off so that we don't just have two Zoom boxes going live on YouTube and we completely lose our subscriber base. So for now. We're going to keep going on the podcast, and as we move forward, and hopefully Matt can get this done through his Sunday, where he's also going to be making phone calls for Grandpa Joe today. He decided since he's jobless, he's volunteering for Grandpa Joe to annoy people on a Sunday and see if they'll let us know that they're voting for him. But
Boy.
yeah. Hey, they got me. They called me up, wanted to know if Grandpa Joe was gonna get my support, and then they just kind of threw in there. And are you willing to volunteer? And I went, yeah, why not? And the girl that called was like, what? Huh? Really? Oh, well, what's your name again?
I love the branding because you're talking about Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden, and every time I hear him, like they just did the Democratic National Convention, and everybody, they don't call him like Senator Biden, they don't call him Mr. Biden, they call him Joe. And every time I hear that, all I can think of is the movie A Mighty Wind at Old Joe's Place. And so every time I hear that, I go, whenever I'm out a wandering, chasing a rainbow dream. I often stop and think about a place I've never seen. And then, anyway, there's a puppy in the parlor and skillet on the stove and a smelly old blanket.
Don't keep saying You just watched it. You can't keep going.
I don't know. I always think about Old Joe's Place.
All those Mighty Wind songs that everybody sings every day. No.
Oh.
Right.
That's what I always think of.
Now that's memorable. E-A-O's. That is memorable. Don't give me those middle of the song lyrics.
I listen to that. No, it's
Mighty
the opening
Wind.
lyrics. It's not the middle. That's the start. Come on, man. Everybody knows Old Joe's Place.
Start, middle. Give me some Spinal Tap. Don't give me a Mighty Wind.
Man, there's popcorn in the popper, but not for you. Okay?
You're such a piece of garbage. Did you know that was a Spinal Tap reunion?
Yeah, Matt. I've been thinking about that forever. I was sitting there. I couldn't even pay attention to the scene. I'm like, wow, it's Spinal Tap reuniting. Woo!
Oh, God, I hate you so much right now. All right. So, Mike, we are unburdened from being the discussion 5.
Speaking of rebranding, Matt, it worked for the Folksmen. So we are now the Folksmen. Say goodbye to Spinal Tap.
We're changing names again.
We're changing names. Old Iserman's Place. That's us.
I was a really big fan of Hockeytown Hullabaloo. I got a big no-sell from, I know Ish is listening. I got a big no-sell from Ish because he didn't even, there wasn't even like it's fine. It was just like, oh, Red Wings rant. Go with that.
I didn't know Ish was that good at impressions, but that was a dead-on tumbleweed. That was really good. That was a cricket riding a tumbleweed impression. That was really good.
No, it was, that was kind of a heartbreaker for me. The alliteration and the fact that I could use hullabaloo and it actually, it would make sense. But Red Wings rant, we're unburdened from the discussion 5. So I was gonna say we don't have to do 5 segments anymore, Mike. So today we're
off the leash.
We've decided to do 8 segments. So you guys are in luck.
For the playoff octopi. Hey!
Three more stories going down today. It's the first things first. Then we got to jump into the first story for your Detroit Red Wings.
Big news.
I don't think I pushed this enough. The Red Wings Rant podcast, where tirades and impassioned pleas about your Detroit Red Wings have a home. That's our new gimmick.
Yeah.
Right. Robby Fabbri signs a 2-year deal, Mike. It's $2.95 per season. He is a UFA at the end of the contract. I thought I'd mention that because there seemed to be a lot of questions about that.
He's going to be an Uncle Fabbri at the end of the contract.
Exactly. Now this, according to Cap Friendly, leaves us with $34.6 million. We know we still have a lot of restricted free agents left to sign.
That's Bowie.
30. You know what? I put him on. I don't mind. Give me some Bowie. But definitely Bertuzzi and Mantha. Iserman's already said that's the only thing he's, besides getting prepared for the draft, that's top thing on his priority list is Bertuzzi and Mantha. Mike, you put the numbers on here.
So Robby, in his first game as Red Wing, he emptied his 6-shooter.
Yeah.
Notching a couple goals, and we actually won a game.
Right.
But total he had 52 games played for our beloved Detroit Red Wings and Little Caesars Arena. 31 points. It's pretty good. Negative 29 on the plus minus. Now, do people like that stat? Not really. Was our whole team kind of in shambles defensively? Sure. But did we have to give a restricted free agent to the 10th of a million, $100,000 per negative plus minus per year?
That's actually that's a scary number to think about. Here's my thing. This is a 2-year deal. I'm fine with it. I think somebody needs to score on this team, so why not let it be Robby Fabbri?
Yeah, he won our hearts in that first game. That's what we're all about in Detroit. I'm sure Detroit area natives are familiar, but I was at Mexican Fiesta with my wife's family. Oh, here we go.
And we're talking about Robby Fabbri in his first game, and it's kind of like this discussion of yeah, we didn't really give up much. And I was like, but don't expect much. It's just we're trying out a guy who's a former first round, or I guess he's always a first round draft pick. And there's always skill and talent there, so you want to see if you can develop him. That's what we're gonna see what happens. And they were like, oh, so he's not really gonna change anything. No, and these are people that don't even really watch the Red Wings. And then 2 periods in, he's got 2 goals, and I look like an ass. And they're like, you do what now? Oh, you do podcasts about the Red Wings and blogs?
You have a hockey podcast? Wow.
Nice. All right. So
Anyone
we'll
can
ignore
have
you.
one of those.
No. All right. So the other part of this then is according to Evolving Hockey, which does have an algorithm put together and a calculation to say this is how much each player should get based off of what's going on around the league and how many points other guys are getting. And Fabbri was projected to get $2.25 million per year. And Yzerman didn't want to see him walk away from his restricted free agent contract. So he made sure to increase it by 31%, or $700,000. Or for some reason I typed in $0.7 million, and I wasn't.
Yeah, it's definitely a bizarre negotiating tactic. I know there's Stockholm syndrome. This is the first time there's ever been reverse Stockholm syndrome. Listen, I know we're stuck with you, but we're gonna give you even more than you're projected to get. But I think jokes aside, and negotiating tactics aside, listen, just we need skaters. So here's a big bag of money. Matt, does it kind of scare you a little bit to see? I know we have the cap space, but potentially doing 31% increases for our other restricted free agents.
That's what I'm one like. It's going to be really interesting to see. So Evolving Hockey has Bertuzzi. Oh, and that's the other thing too, was that Fabbri's projections were based off an $84 million cap. So now we're looking at we're looking at the $81 million cap. So really, it could have been shorter, but those are the same numbers we're looking at here too with Bertuzzi and Mantha. So the $5.4 million for 4 years, $6.6 to $7 million for 5 years for Mantha.
Also, is it a little early for this, since knowing that the cap's probably not going to go up thanks to COVID, and a lot of teams have some pretty dire cap situations where they're going to have to trade some people to fill out their rosters. And the Red Wings should just be sitting there like this, waiting for draft picks and expensive contracts. Is this a little early for this move?
For Fabbri?
If every dollar's going to count, he wasn't going to go anywhere.
But if you put with $34 million, the first thing that you should think is, oh my God, there's a lot of guys that are going to be leaving this team, and there's a lot of guys that aren't signed. I think, you're talking about a guy that next season will probably be in the top 6. So I don't mind paying a guy who's going to be in the top 6 $2.95 million. That does not hurt at all, considering other top 6s have guys, in the tens of millions of dollars. This still works. It's just, we are going to be bad. The important thing is that it's 2 years. So, worst case scenario is that Fabbri becomes a guy that we can't lose, and we have to, think about, in 2 years, how are we going to fit in his $10 million contract, with Marco Rossi's $10 million, which is 3 years down the line. But so that's our good problem. There really wasn't too much bad to come out of this, because we're going to get Bertuzzi and Mantha out of the way. Again, paying them top 6 guys, 5.4, 6.6, won't hurt us the next couple of seasons. It's just, if Bertuzzi turns into an Abdelkader, if he really falls off, production-wise, then we've got another Nielsen situation on our hands where he'll be in that range. We're paying him to be a top 6 guy, and he can't crack, he can't get past the third line kind of thing. So that's where I think the issues start, and when we see the increase here that Fabbri got based on what Evolving Hockey was kind of projecting through his numbers and what the rest of the league is paying guys at his level. I don't know. It's there's so many different variables to crack into here. I don't hate the Fabbri contract at all. We're mainly teasing here the Detroit Red Wings for giving him that increase. But you can really put yourself in trouble here, I think, with the Bertuzzi contract if you don't get that right. I think Mantha's going to have some wiggle room because we've seen the production at a high level. So it's just Bertuzzi, I'm still not sold that he's a product of what, of getting the opportunity to be on the first line and playing with the other top talents on the Red Wings. I don't think you can build a team around him, so that's where you have to be really, really careful with his contract. You have to be careful with the length. You got to be careful with the amount, and I don't want to see a jump past $6 million with where the cap's going to be for the next couple of years with nobody attending hockey games. So
Right.
That's the scary one. And I know there might be a lot of people who I've been hurt before. There's a lot of young Red Wings fans, and they are born every year. And I just feel I've seen it go wrong, and I think Bertuzzi is great. I just don't see him as a piece of this core when we're a Stanley Cup team, or I should say a major playoff contender. I don't see Bertuzzi still being like that. Gotta have him out there at the end of the game to win it, kind of thing. I'm gonna get some hate for this, but I'm pretty stubborn in that belief. But
let me share one fun nugget with you, Matt. So, Robby Fabbri, he's roughly getting per $100,000 annually. He's minus 29. Just for funsies, the range for Anthony Mantha is like 6 to 7. He finished the year on -7, so it bodes well for him getting that $7 million annually. Matt, a big superstar in the NHL, former Capital, former Red Wing, and now former hockey player. Looks like Mike Green is hanging him up.
Mike Green. I think we all did a little bit of extra research this week. Almost winning the Norris Trophy a couple times, and hearing people talk about it around the league, and their opinions of like, all right, this is when the Norris focused more on the defensive aspects of the game, and if Mike Green was in that Norris conversation with those numbers he had, he would have won it easily, and who votes on it now, they're primarily just looking at, well, who's the most exciting guy? I always tease and say they just, go to stats and click on points and go, that's who I'm voting for. Like, they just filter it for points, or sort it for points. It would have been nice to see Mike Green get that, I think, because now we have the warm and fuzzies for him. But, serviceable while he was a Red Wing. Obviously, his best years were in Washington, and that hot minute he was in Edmonton. I still think that was kind of cute that still got the mention in all the stories where it was and almost comparable. Like former Washington Capitals defenseman was stopped in Detroit and Edmonton, and I was like, well, I mean, come on, a couple of contracts were signed in Detroit. Let's not say the 2 games in Edmonton is comparable to the seasons he spent in Detroit. But,
right.
Not too much to dissect here. He's not my favorite player. He's not going to go down as an all-time Red Wing. He should go down as an all-time Capital.
I think, kind of joking aside, when he started to get more boo-boos, I think the entire team kind of started to crater, not just for defensive depth, but he was really good on the power play, and when we didn't have him out there, it was pretty noticeable at times. We didn't have a quarterback kind of leading the play. So even on a poopy Red Wings team, he still held a lot of value for us here towards the end. And
well, even last year, I was blogging about the Mike Green magic when I was still working for Cover the Spread 365. So it was when he was off the out of the lineup, when he was either injured or scratched. Our expected goals would just get. Oh, man, it was ugly. And then he'd come back in the lineup, and the expected goals would go shooting through the roof. Our possession numbers would go through the roof, and we'd win. So it was just, it was a fun couple of weeks where Mike Green was hurt most of the season, and then he would come back for a couple of weeks, get hurt again. But those 2 weeks he was back, we'd go like 7-2. So it was fun. The Mike Green magic. That's what I'll remember most about Mike Green was how he didn't score or even.
He really had some. I was just gonna say in his early 20s, he really had some magical back-to-back seasons. Like 56 points. When he was 23, he had 73 points in 68 games, which is pretty nuts for a defenseman.
Yeah.
Then the year after that, 76 and 75. But yeah, like you were saying, a Norris runner-up. I don't know if that was necessarily because of his defensive acumen, but it's important to be that quarterback on the power play.
Well, he's defined as one of the defensemen that's changed, like how analytics are tracked for every hockey player, because it's that idea, and we're looking at Robby Fabbri with his -29, but he brings some goals to the ice, and to a grander extent, Mike Green was the guy who would still sacrifice positioning and he'd sacrifice defensive positioning to get a better offensive chance, and it was kind of just that's where the analytics could find, that's better for Mike Green to do that. If he's not going for those offensive chances, the team suffers. So they give up a goal every now and then, but they get 2 goals in favor for when Mike Green's out there for every goal he does give up. So that's I think if anything we could say he's he's pretty much brought a new kind of defenseman to the NHL that was being recognized and finally wasn't just, people weren't taking big dumps on it because analytics came around and could prove that what Mike Green was bringing to the ice was worthwhile. A little extra analytics background for Mike Green. But Mike, you were talking about his back-to-back seasons that were doing where he was amazing, and again, nowadays would have won the Norris. Mike,
yeah,
Zadina,
he lost. Real fun. He lost to Zdeno Chara. So he didn't lose to a slouch, but it was kind of fun that he just barely nudged above Nick Lidstrom. So it was kind of cool to see that.
ruined my transition.
38-year-old Nick Lidstrom. So not not like spring chicken Nick. So
let me recap here. Mike, you were talking about Mike Green's back-to-back seasons. Well, let's talk about Zadina's back-to-back shifts. There it is. All right.
Hey!
2 goals in 11 minutes for Zadina over at HC. Oshilari Trenik over with the Czech team that
it's actually Oshilari Trenik.
Oh, okay.
Good try, though, Matt.
Just good to see that Zadina's out there scoring some goals. Apparently the team was super happy to have him out there, and the coaching staff over there just over the moon with, I guess they're trying to talk about like the difference in his maturity and the strength that he carries himself with. That I was actually talking online on Twitter with a couple of different buddies about it. Do we think that's just him getting older, or do we think it's from that grit that comes with playing in the AHL? And we all kind of came to the consensus that it's a little bit of both, but you got to think everybody's going to grow, but not everybody gets to play in the AHL. So that actually, instead of having a guy come up and forcing him into the lineup, a guy who's a top 10 pick like Zadina, giving him that time in the AHL has at least made a huge difference for him going back to the Czech league. So they're pretty happy with it. We just want to see that transition into that Czech league play, the goals coming over over in the Czech league, and then the strength that apparently has come from getting this development down in the AHL. All right, now it's got to turn into a first or second line winger, but we don't know yet. And I think it's just right now it's just good to see. If you're going to loan a guy out to a whole nother league and a whole nother team and kind of risk, injury with him being out there, good to see that through all of that, like you have to think, right? Like he's pulling back a little bit, that he's still out there scoring goals. So I say not too much to dissect here, but good news for Zadina and what he's doing over there. The opposite. What if he goes out there, scores no goals? Doesn't do anything. Coach is like, he looks like shit out there. Looks like he's just skating. He just wanted to get on the ice. I'm not too happy he's here. None of that. It's all good news. All right. Around the league, Mike, you want to talk about Tampa and
maybe for 30 seconds. No, it was just fun because my favorite series is Tampa and Boston because I like Tampa. I want to see how they do without Yzerman. They're doing really well. We're going to talk about one of the reasons why they're doing so well here in this redraft momentarily. But one of the subjects of discussion about what are the Red Wings going to do with that, $34 million left in cap space is they're going to get a big old juicy defenseman. And that defenseman's going to be Boston Bruin Torrey Krug. And I didn't get to watch the entire game, but I did get to watch Braden Point and Andre Palat totally bumblebee poor Torrey Krug on a goal. Totally lost on some stick handling. But, I mean, he made the initial play. It was just, like, the highlight was so long because he just had to stand there and just get – I made up a verb for this play because that's what it looked like. He was literally just kind of swatting at a bumblebee and not making any contact. And a goal got in. And then, Tampa ended up winning that one. And the other one is later, baby. My goalie in Vegas. Woo! With another shout out of the Canucks. You were trying to convince me that, Bo Horvat, my ass. He can't do anything against Leonard.
He just did. A game ago.
Matt, 2 shout outs. Get out of here. Matt, what do you think of these back-to-backs for hockey?
I like it. I mean,
I know it gets us through these like minor series a little bit quicker, so we can start getting to semifinals and finals. But
they're not traveling; they're staying in one spot. Like that's usually the crusher,
Yeah.
Especially like think about some of the teams that have to travel from, like when Chicago's doing hot, and they've got to bounce back between Chicago and LA, kind of series. But
hey, Chicago's a West Coast team,
I was gonna say it used to be the Red Wings, but I didn't want to hark back on that because now we have it pretty easy. But it should be easier for them to do this. We don't hear anybody complaining, and I do like the setup. It's kind of looks like you get like an earlier afternoon game. I mean, except for the Knights who are playing back to back and they're starting at the exact same time. But
it almost feels like the players are just so there's nothing else to do. You're just kind of in the bubble. Let's just keep playing playoff hockey.
Let's get home.
I'm done.
That's the other part of it, right?
I want to go home.
How quickly can we get out of here?
Can we play a doubleheader?
I'm happy for the Vegas Knights because we have the Vegas nightly, weekly. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm getting part of the Hockey Podcast Network. So they've been dealing with a lot of
you and your
garbage.
hockey hullabaloo.
And our friend of the show, Dave Aikman, who's one of the hosts on that show, he's also from the Michigan area and huge Detroit Red Wings fan. He's just been taking it from every angle. That's gotta hurt, but. The whole Marc-Andre Fleury and Lehner thing, and then, of course, as we saw Marc-Andre Fleury's agent kind of being a big baby, putting up the meme of Fleury getting a Golden Knights sword in his back, which, man, could you imagine, doing that with like your boss or something for, wherever... Any job. I was going to bring up, I don't know why I was going to say Amazon for some reason, but and talking about Jeff Bezos, but any job, if you do that, you're gone, man. But yeah, Fleury's agent getting kind of upset there. So I'm just happy that they can get further away from this issue and let one of the best goaltenders in the league the last couple of years just shine in the playoffs. I think that's what Vegas wants. It's funny to me, but I think it's just that fan loyalty. I think it's the kind of thing that has Kirk Mulpey stick around with the Detroit Red Wings for so long and just kind of eat up some minutes. But hey, you know what? That's just Vegas, and we're a Detroit Red Wings podcast. But I'm happy that Lehner gets the shutout. It's less of a controversy, and they can get back to enjoying their team winning.
Hell yeah!
Now, Mike. We don't want you to take a sword in the back, but we have a blade.
How about an electric blade to the balls?
God damn you! I can't get any more transitions.
Yeah.
You're a piece of garbage. The Lawnmower 3.0 from Manscaped is out. It's the 3rd generation trimmer with the cutting-edge ceramic blade to prevent manscaping accidents. Millions of balls are about to be nick-free thanks to Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology. Mike, we talk about it every week, but I'm done with the patio work. We're going to be putting in a retaining wall, but I'm telling you, that patio work would not be done right now without the Lawnmower 3.0, because it was hotter than balls out there while we were working on it. Of course, now we're dealing with nice 60, 70-degree weather, but it was 90 degrees
nice
while I was putting
it's so nice I might go for a run.
Right. Now it's going to be even breezier down there. But I'm telling you, that patio is not going to go in if I didn't have all the swishies and air breathing because my pubis were shorter. So you do it. You can swipe right down there as fast as you can because that thing's not going to cut you.
Speaking of swipe right, if you put a picture of these on Tinder, Manscaped balls are getting swiped right every time.
And you should be doing doing yourself a favor too. And don't use the same razors you put on your face, man. You gotta get there's a special tool for your family jewels. Use the Lawnmower 3.0. Now, if you want a discount, use code THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network. That's promo code THPN at manscaped.com. It's going to get you 20% off and free shipping for the Lawnmower 3.0. We can't talk about it enough. They're still sticking around with the Hockey Podcast Network because they know that we've been helping out so many fans of the Hockey Podcast Network. So, support the show. Get your balls clipped down. Manscaped.com. THPN is the promo code that gets you 20% off and free shipping. Mike, we're back. We are ready to talk about our favorite game. I don't know if it is a game. We're running out of drafts. We're going to have to go back. We're going to have to go to 1997 and start going down and going.
I disagree. I think we're going to have to redraft our redrafts. That's what we're going to do.
Well, that's true because I think we are learning a lot about these drafts and about the NHL. So maybe our opinions will change. Mike, this was a very tough draft, and you and I actually need to do a little extra research.
It was just fucking hard. That was the first time I swore in this episode, but yeah, I was really combing through these guys. Like I don't know. Do I need a C minus or a C minus minus? I don't know.
Well, and it was the difference between getting that guy that's just going to show up on the point sheet, or getting the guy that plays sound defensively.
It was a lot like making a
harder
salad,
to measure.
And you're going to either put like celery or a water chestnut on it. And it's just kind of like, well, they kind of add some crunch, but not super nutrient dense, but, it is a key part of any, Thai dish is the sliced water chestnut. So I guess with maybe my 8th pick, I'll be taking a water chestnut or a fresh piece of organic celery. It's got some green, mostly water. It's a little, I don't know. I can't think of a more apropos analogy than the water chestnut for most of these players.
Well, I mean, one of the easier ways to like kind of, I don't know, define how unimpressive the lineup is here. We don't have a point per game player, and like what's coming down the line is the Leon Draisaitl. I mean, in future draft redrafts, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and I'm sure Nathan
Alexei Lafreniere.
Right, but he's not a point per game player. I'm just saying. We don't have one this season, and number one was Nail Yakupov. I think we all know how that story went. And it's crazy to think that we've had guys in previous drafts at the top that aren't even close to thinking about retiring. And Yakupov, last season, 2018, recorded here, and 136 points. And, where'd his name go? And 350 games. I mean, that's your number one pick. Poor Edmonton, man. Shoot. How many drafts is this going to be? First picks for Edmonton.
The 3.
We've got 2010, 2011, 2012. They've got number 7 in 2013, number 3 in 2014, and number 1 in 2015. So, fuck those Red Wing fans for wanting a first pick for having the shittiest team in a decade. Anyway, back to the 2012 draft. So that's just my quick way of kind of saying, like, yeah, this was not a draft where it was an easy, like, this is the guy that needs to go number one. When you're looking at skaters, this was a good draft for goalies, a great draft for goalies, but we'll get into that in a second. We did have 15 guys play 400 games. It was 27 guys the season before, 400-plus games. So obviously that number's coming down because we're losing a whole season of guys that could actually play. But It's a pretty good chunk of guys that how do I want to put this? I didn't, Mike, for scouting department losers. We'll get this out of the way. I don't think there was a scouting department loser. So we've just said that this is a very hard draft to draft in, but everybody walked away with something. Everybody got a hockey player. They got somebody who's producing somewhere. Where in other seasons we've seen these teams get absolutely nothing. They walk away with like 10-man games played, and it's 10 years after the draft, so there was a chance that somebody was going to develop at some point, and nobody did. But this draft is different in that way. But I'll also say it was different in the way that it, with it being so tough, you really had to nail this draft. And as we just talked, the last season where Steve Yzerman was our part of our scouting department winners, I say he does it again here with Vasilevsky getting picked up. He's got Cedric Paquette. Again, this is just, we're talking about solid skaters, like a guy that is serviceable. We're not talking about a guy who's the franchise player that you base your whole team around. Cedric Paquette fits that definition where he's a guy that the Tampa Bay Lightning and the NHL could count on for him to put in the minutes. Now, this one's maybe a little controversial. I'm going to throw in Nikita Gusev for two reasons. One, 44 points in 66 games for the New Jersey Devils this year. So I'm just going to say his first season, he's a 27-year-old. It's just one of those situations, like, you nailed it with the draft. Like, it looks like this could actually work out for Gusev, or at least you've got a guy who's got an easy nickname, and he could probably fit in your middle six, no problem. The Goose is his nickname. But also, Mike, NHL 20 picked him up on my team. We got a couple of seasons out of him where he got 90 points, 90-plus points. He was on my first line. So I traded for Gusev right away. And, man, he knocked it out of the park with my Lafreniere line. That was Lafreniere, Shane Wright, and Nikita Gusev in a couple of years. Shane Wright being the big prospect who's like 15 or 16 right now. Everybody's projecting to go in 2022. Anyways, so I've got the warm and fuzzies for Nikita Gusev. So I'm happy that Yzerman drafted him because we think alike. We knew that this guy was going to pan out eventually. Anyways, Penguins and Capitals make this list as well, with Wilson going for the Capitals. And Penguins, I mean, honestly, this was just a solid, like, top to bottom through the draft. They've got some good hockey players in there. And Winnipeg, too. I think that was a mistake on my part with Trouba and Connor Hellebuyck coming through for Winnipeg. So, there's your winners. Losers, like I said, I'm going to say nobody's a loser because everybody walked away with something. But just to keep on rolling, our Datsuk Diamond in the rough, Connor Hellebuyck.
Yep.
I'm giving it to him. He's pick 130 for Winnipeg. Finished second 2 years ago for the Vezina. He's going to win the Vezina this year. I have no doubt in my mind. And he's got .917 career save percentage. He finished with .922, I think, this season. So I'm going all the way on Connor Hellebuyck being our Datsuk Diamond in the rough. I think that was a major find. And it's something that Winnipeg actually, like, this guy's so good, and Winnipeg's defense is so bad. Like, this is actually the goaltender where you're like, all right, he's that damn good that you can, as opposed to like some of the goaltenders that do get those giant contracts. Like Hellebuck's proving it this season that I can get you to the playoffs on my own. Hopefully he gets some help in the future, and this defense kind of gets upgrades at Winnipeg, and so they can start winning. But man, this guy's good.
He definitely had to have a bit of a Bernier season in him a couple times. And I just want to throw this out there one more time because I only mentioned it because Freddie Anderson got to get drafted twice because he didn't feel like, I don't want to play with you guys. Oh, what was that, 2 years ago? So I'm just going to say Freddie Anderson in this draft, Connor Hellebuyck in this one. Both of them carried my fantasy hockey teams by just getting peppered with shots. Because it turns out when you play Yahoo Fantasy Hockey, you can actually choose an option where you get points per save. So it doesn't matter if you're a good goalie, which Connor happens to be a good goalie, but if you also get peppered with shots, you get points. So Thank you to the awful Winnipeg Jet defense, and thank you to Connor for standing there and getting shot a lot like Goldberg in the Mighty Ducks practice from the movie. That moves to our. How are we doing on categories? Oh yeah, so second straight mention here for Yuri Depita of critical acclaim, who was drafted at the ripe age of 29. I think because he was in Europe, they thought he was a finished product. I don't know. We like celebrating the oldest fart in the draft. This one was Freddie Anderson, who refused to go to his previously drafted team, and instead also didn't stick around with this team. But at least he decided to stay in the NHL. But he's had a couple good years. One of those years being when he carried my fantasy team all the way to the finals. So thank you, Freddie. Now he gets to be a scapegoat in Toronto. But again, just like Connor, the 917 save percentage in his career. Pretty good average, I'll say. I will hold a special place in my heart for him. But when we do the redraft, there's somebody else I'm going to be taking before him. Matt, you had a couple good boys. These are the rascals who stay with the same team their whole careers. So Freddie, obviously not making this list, the jerkhead. Matt, who do you got on the good boy award?
It's Vasilevsky and Hellebuyck. I think it's going to be pretty tough for us to make an argument that they shouldn't be at the top of this draft in regards to getting picked up. With how we keep saying it, like skater wise, this wasn't the year that you picked up your franchise player. So, but you could pick up a franchise goalie. So yeah, yes. The good boy award is who's ever sticking around with the team, but they also have to be very good. So I'm taking those top two best guys on this draft board: Andrei Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuyck. Getting the good boy award. And then the wingies. We got Ferk and Athanasiou. So for the Red Wings...
It's actually pronounced Fur.
I thought that was F-R-R-R-P. Athanasiou being shipped out, so at least we got some picks from him. And, neither guy is going to make the difference for the Red Wings at this point. It was more obvious about Ferk, but I remember picking up Ferk and being really excited just because his last name didn't have any vowels in it. So that that was a conversation piece. You kind of you thought this would be fun if it worked out. Nice. Maybe the Red Wings save money on making jerseys because they don't have to print out so many letters.
We're cutting costs. I need a lot of players with 2 and 3 letter names. Let's get them in here.
But yeah, now that Athanasiou's been
maybe that's why we signed Fabbri. It's only 5 letters, and Bertuzzi, I don't know, getting to like those 8-9 letter names.
That's coming out of his paycheck. That's why Fabbri got the increase.
To actually prove it, that's maybe why we traded Athanasiou. It's just way too many letters to keep reprinting those every year. Okay.
Exactly.
All
right.
I think we're through the categories. Matt, we're ready to redraft this really tough draft. I think I have to pick first this time. Originally, the Oilers, this was not one of their career highlights here, Matt. They took Nail Yakupov. I don't think that they would do that.
I like how you pointed
again.
out my typo.
Yeah, there's a Yakupov, man.
Yeah,
man, you didn't even need to correct it. That's how relevant this guy was. You should have just left it as it was.
Dick.
There's no question for me who the top pick in this draft is, and I just want to really give credit to Stevie Y for taking him because the only players really worth a damn in this draft were goalies. And, as we've discovered, it's not usually a good idea to draft a goalie super high. You can only do it really in hindsight. But looking at the goalies that were picked, from Freddie to Hellebuyck, Matt Murray, and this guy, Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky was picked first. And I honestly, of those goalies, and I honestly think that if you did it again, apologies to Connor, who, he did help my fantasy hockey team a couple seasons. I think he would still take Vasilevsky first of those goalies. He's the big man. He's the big athletic man. He was good enough that Tampa felt comfortable enough to say, bye to Nabokov, bye to Ben Bishop. This is our guy. And, those two guys had accolades at the time when Tampa just said, nah, fuck it. We don't need these guys. So I think knowing that you had that kind of confidence to go with this young guy, and, I think he's rewarded your confidence in him, with either a runner-up as a Vezina or, winning the award last season. I'm happy taking this guy first. So, Andrei, you are the first pick, my friend. Welcome to Edmonton. So I apologize.
All right. So I got pick number 2, and I think it's important to also look at who's making this draft. Columbus is a year away from investing a ton of money in Sergei Bobrovsky at this point. Or actually, you know what? They're in the midst of putting that contract together. So this is actually before everything's put together for Bobrovsky heading over to Columbus. So Columbus seems to have an idea of what they want to do goaltender-wise. And do they want to draft Hellebuyck and not have it be an issue in the future? Because, Mike, we just talked about Hellebuyck almost winning the Vezina. So the year before Hellebuyck came in second was Columbus getting a win from Bobrovsky. So am I trying to say here I'm not going to take Hellebuyck at number 2? Even though that's the game changer? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna let's do this. Let's kind of juice this up a little bit. I guess what we want to do is match. I'm gonna have to match the D side here for Columbus. We'll give them an upgrade, and the Leafs are not going to get Morgan Rielly, but Columbus will. Columbus, Morgan Rielly, number 2 overall, and what you're getting here is a guy who can move this puck pretty good, and he's been showing. I mean, it's pretty easy to pass through those forward lines for Toronto. Is Morgan Rielly? I don't know if he could jump around this league and say I'm always going to be in consideration for the top 2 defensive pairing. For this draft, though, I think you're getting serviceable enough out of Morgan Rielly that it is going to make that difference, and you are going to be happy with what you're getting. I mean, it's still a defenseman we're talking about here, and 270 points, so like a half a point per game from your defenseman is pretty goddamn good. And again, if you're not taking into consideration that this guy is also playing with some of the best forwards in the league, and that might be why those points are so high, you're kidding yourself. But he's also finishing in 5th for the Norris just a season ago, and getting those all-star votes. And apparently he's such a nice guy that he gets the Bing votes too. So give me Morgan Rielly. He's a sweetie, and he's going over to Columbus.
Oh, that's nice. Man, that takes us all the way out to Canada. We got Montreal picking. They actually didn't do too bad. They got one of the only forwards kind of worth a damn. And Matt, help me with that pronunciation because I always trip
Alex
over it.
Galchenyuk, yeah.
Why do I always say not Galchenyuk?
There's
only like 4 forwards worth a damn in this draft, but I still think they can do a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
If only because he had a couple more 30-goal seasons. But I mean, these guys are almost like neck and neck. But I guess you want to take, a couple more peaks. I think their valleys are pretty similar, but the peaks are a little bit higher for this guy, who originally went 11 to Washington, who, we mentioned before had a really good draft. So we're going to pillage from the Capitals. And again, Hellebuyck has to drop because they already had Carey Price, so they don't need another goalie. So Matt, we're going Phil Forsberg.
Okay, I thought your Zoom chat froze. That was funny.
It was like I mentioned, he had a couple extra, seasons where he's a little bit better. He's in the running for, one of our favorite awards, thanks to old Pavel. He's in the running, didn't, win, but, Lady Ming and Selke. He's, on a poopy Nashville team, and now he's on a pretty good Nashville team, and, maybe we got to give him a little boost playing with young Carey Price. So, Matt, give me Forsberg at number 3.
Yeah, and you're not gonna add Hellebuyck to Carey Price's team.
No, it's madness.
But you are going to add Hellebuyck to the Islanders. Do we have to keep talking about it? Let's just keep rolling. We know how good Hellebuyck is. Vezina second place 2 years ago. Vezina winner this year, I guarantee it. Hellebuyck, go number 4. This is a franchise goalie, and now the Islanders. Right now they're doing pretty good with the system with Barry Trotz, but maybe they don't need a system when you got Hellebuyck in there. So I'm rolling Hellebuyck at 4. Mike, you got number 5.
Well, at number 5, why do we give up assets for Freddie Anderson, say the Toronto Maple Leafs, when it's a redraft and we can just take him outright? So that's what they do.
Holy crap! All right, this is ridiculous now.
Man, there's nothing out there. I'm taking Freddie. I know he's a scapegoat, but now we can keep those juicy Maple Leaf assets. I mean, he's up there he didn't win, but he's up there for, Vezina voting and All-Star stuff and
All-Star stuff.
All-Star stuff. I told you I have a special place in my heart. I don't mind taking 2 goalies in the top 10 because this guy, he's just getting showered with hockey pucks. Trying to play behind the porous Maple Leaf defense. So Freddie, I'm sorry, your career, it's a true detective flat circle, and even in a redraft, you can't escape playing in Toronto. So I'm sorry, my 6'4", 230-pound friend, you're playing there again. So Matt, you had some rumblings and grumblings, some Winnie the Pooh rumbly tumblies, but I'm doing it again. I don't care. Freddie, I want you in the top 5. You've treated me well, even though it means you're in Toronto again. But Matt, that takes us to number 6 with Anaheim.
Well, they went with Hampus Lindholm, which honestly, when you take a look at the point share surrounding all these players, that Hampus Lindholm is actually right in that spot. So that you could make the argument that you nailed it there. But I'm going to steal from Winnipeg. Let's before all the drama surrounding Jacob Trouba shows up, let's put him over in Anaheim. We'll put him on the West Coast, a little bit further west than we're in the center of the country that the Winnipeg Jets are hunkered down in. Definitely not West Coast. I'm gonna move Trouba there. I think there's an argument for Dumba. I think there's an argument for Lindholm to just go right ahead and stick in that spot. But I don't know. You could even make the argument here that maybe you don't want the drama that came around with Jacob Trouba. But I'm going to go for it. And I think he's one of the guys that when he left Winnipeg, it kind of looked like, what else is going to happen to this team's defensive 6? And, Hellebuyck kind of just proved you can do anything to it and I'll still be successful. But that was when Winnipeg was a Stanley Cup contender. Was part of the reasons is that you have a Jacob Trouba in your defensive core. So I want him to be a part of my defensive core, and I think he's a good piece for any team. Going, probably right up until moving over to the Rangers, but I'm still okay saying that. I'm still pretty confident that you want to get a good chunk out of his career. And I'm going to take Trouba at that spot. And I think, I think you could make the argument for Lindholm to even stay in that spot. I don't think he's been terrible, but Trouba seems like the better upgrade. So he's going 6.
Now it's really getting dicey over here, man. It takes us to Minnesota at number 7. Pardon?
Another D.
Another big D was taken. It's the big D of Matthew Dumba. I mean, you can really, I guess, kind of nitpick and, these guys are slightly better maybe than each other. All these, we're basically, there's no forwards. There's nothing left really. Galchenyuk maybe, but I don't know. Are we really going to nickel and dime like the point share and the possession stats, or are we just going to say, you know what, Minnesota, this was not a fantastic draft, and at number 7, you got a defenseman who's right there. And you know what? I'm going to celebrate their scouting department. Matthew Dumba, you're going to stay in Minnesota.
And diversity. Matt Dumba making, he's the one who's leading the NHL through everything that the NHL
seemingly,
will allow.
Not just taking Minnesota on his back, taking the entire National Hockey League on his back, because not a big rush to kind of get behind the movement here. But at least Matthew is, bravely out there by himself. Seems like, you get a top 4 defenseman, a guy who, obviously has some pretty strong leadership skills. So I don't think Minnesota would be upset with us taking them in any wild directions here. Apologies for the pun. But yeah, I think they're happy with him. I don't think he's part of the reason why they can't get out of the first round of the playoffs. But yeah, Dumba, even with not a super dazzling team, he's a guy I would love to have in Red Wing top 4. So I'm taking him at 7, and I'm going to celebrate his contributions to things outside of hockey. So Matt, number 7, you get Matthew, even though he's missing a T in his first name.
So the Penguins at 8. So we've taken 3 goalies already, and it would be, do I just have the Penguins take Matt Murray, and then they're kind of in the same situation. They have Murray, and then he's gonna come and take Marc-Andre Fleury's job and all that fun stuff. I don't know. You and I were looking at some other draft boards, and Murray made it in there, but again, I let recency bias affect me in a positive way. Why can't I have it affect me in a negative way? Murray is being talked about as the next big Seattle Kraken acquisition. So
yeah, Bill the Kraken.
I think what I'm going to do is send Jacob Slavin on over to Pittsburgh, because that's a guy that actually could have gone down as he could have been our Datsuk diamond in the rough at 120. But this is a guy, and we keep talking about it. We keep talking about these guys that are going to be the serviceable defensive defensemen. But Slavin is so good at it that he still gets the Norris attention. He still finds himself 3 years in a row in the top 20 of Norris voting, and to do that as a defensive defenseman is so freaking hard to get that attention, to know that you're doing that damn good, and especially with the Hurricanes too, that they are those that possession monster. They're an analytics monster. So at some point somebody's got to start playing the defense, and Slavin he throws his D around. So I hate that I'm making the Pittsburgh Penguins probably right now they have not been eliminated from the playoffs if they have a Jacob Slavin in there. But yeah, that's what's going down. I'm Slavin to Pittsburgh, and it breaks my heart.
Well, Matt, this is my final pick, and it's the Winnipeg Jets.
Also, I looked back. This is supposed to be my pick. You got the first pick 2 drafts in a row now.
Woohoo! Well, Matt, the Jets took Trouba here initially, so I think they're a little jealous of where he ended up. Now he's in Anaheim, flying with the Ducks. But Hellebuyck is off the board for them, Matt. They need a goaltender. They need a guy who made Marc-Andre Fleury expendable. They need a guy who's been playing for Lord Stanley's Cup back-to-back seasons. Maybe on the Malkin coattails, maybe on the Sid the Kid coattails, I don't know. But Matt, God damn it, he did it. Matt, my last pick, I don't feel guilty at all about taking Matt Murray. I know he's kind of been in the toilet here for Pittsburgh. We're going to go. I know you like the recency bias. I'm going to ignore what happened recently and just look fondly on the past, much like Detroit Red Wing GMs like to do. So, Matt, I don't know. Are you going to tear this pick apart? I mean, he won the cup, right? I mean, I know he's been kind of poopy the past 2 years in the big games. I know, but like, 2 cups. Come on, it's right there.
He played so well that they took the guy that everybody loves around the league. Like Marc-Andre Fleury got moved, or he was put up for the expansion draft for Vegas. Like, you have to be damn good to take Marc-Andre Fleury's job because he was also successful for the Penguins, and he's always smiling. And his nickname's Flower, so you have to be damn good at some point. So you get Matt Murray when he's damn good. I couldn't take him. I couldn't take him at 8, but I guess at 9. He's fine.
You could justify it at 9.
One pick, and okay. I'm like, hell no. But at 9, yeah, sure.
Matt crunched the numbers, not at 8. No, 9 maybe. Okay, Matt.
Right.
So that means that the Lightning are up.
Yeah, I've got Steve Yzerman's job, and let me. So this is a conversation I got online with folks. Was Yzerman's ability to draft the worthwhile defenseman, and we had this as a show topic a few weeks ago, and I said there weren't really too many successes. I think maybe we said 2 out of like 20 guys that have been drafted as D-men for Yzerman or something like that. And folks on Twitter were counting Slater Coco. I think at a pick number 10, you've got to do a little bit better than this. So I'm going to say I'm going to stick with defense, and I'm going to do Steve Yzerman's job a little bit better, and we're going to go with Colton Parayko, who was lucky enough to win the Stanley Cup last year. He's another nice guy in the NHL because he's getting those Bing votes, but this is a guy who, again, is going to advance your core defense into helping you become a Stanley Cup contender. Another solid defensive defenseman. Again, not the guy you wrap your entire franchise around, but you put a Parayko on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and man, they're already like the regular season monsters. It should be the Tampa Bay Lightning and Vegas Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. But St. Louis is not going to be happy about losing Parayko. That was a great draft on their part, and man, that would have been great for Stevie Y to nail that. Who knows if Tampa lets him walk or if he's leaving? Because that would mean that this team probably already won their Stanley Cup, and we're not having those Columbus Blue Jacket conversations. But yeah, take the defensive defenseman, take Parayko. You were drafting Coco, so I feel like I'm defending taking defenseman because it feels like Tampa Bay has such a strong defensive core. But they have a strong offensive core. They have a strong goaltender. Of course, he's gone now because Vasilevsky got drafted. Here I am talking.
Look at Ben Bishop,
and this redraft. Colton Parayko goes at 10. I did Steve Yzerman's job better than Steve Yzerman. Boom, roasted. That'll be our clip for this week's for this week's episode. All right. That is the 72nd episode of the Brothers of Discussion covering Detroit Red Wings hockey. Arguably the first episode of Red Wings Rant. Happy to be here. Hockey Podcast Network, all in jest. Love you guys. Thanks for letting us do this. Puns be damned. SEO for life. I mean, honestly, you're making a better business decision. SEO is way more important than me having a pun that I'm proud of. Or alliteration with Hockey Town Hullabaloo. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Don't forget, we are on YouTube as the Brothers of Discussions. You can follow along with all of our wrestling stuff, too. On Twitter, at BOD Hockey for this show, at BOD Podcast for all the wrestling stuff. And if you are a wrestling fan, we are doing, trying to do a couple videos a week, and we've got a couple blogs coming out a week. So the mill is running again, and soon I'm going to have my first Red Wings blog coming out that I've been working pretty hard on. And man, hopefully you'll have a hard on for it. So thanks for tuning in. That's brothersofdiscussion.com, bodpodcast.com, Brothers of Discussion on YouTube, and brothers_of_discussion on Instagram. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.